Yeah, no, I'm aware of it, but at the end of the day, I mean, I'm gonna be where my feet are. That's all I know. I have a job to do here, and I take a lot of pride in giving everything I can for the guys in this building, and being able to step on the field knowing that I've prepared the best I can. And for 7.5 years, I've been an LA Ram, and I've taken that approach every single day. And whatever happens outside of that, I got control what I can control, and right now that means being the best LA Ram that I can be, and I'm going to continue to do that.
Have the Rams spoken with you or your representatives about the possibility of trading you?
Yeah, nothing really. No, it is that time of the year. There's going to be rumors and things that go around, and like I said, I let that stuff as much as I can be in the background, and like I said, just kind of handle my business.
Okay, so a lot of things in there kind of saying, like, if I might, been here 7.5 years. Obviously, I focus for the guys in this locker room, in this organization, be where my feet are, do it the best I can. Didn't say he wanted to be traded by any means. Didn't say he thought he was going to get traded, but certainly said, like, it's a possibility.
Absolutely.
Is how he chatted about it. And DeAndre Hopkins gets traded yesterday. Devontae Adams gets traded last week. Amari Cooper gets traded last week. It seems like if you were a team that was looking for a wide receiver, Cooper Kupp might be the guy you're trying to get. Let's go to Hammer. Tylen Diggs. Are the Pittsburgh Steelers going to get Cooper Kupp, or what's happening, brother?
I want him so bad, Pat. I want him so bad. We keep doing this. Everybody else is getting wide receivers. Why can't we get a wide receiver? Maybe now that Russ is the quarterback, maybe that is maybe a more intriguing place for these wide receivers to go, even though it's not always their decision. But I know guys who have been with teams for a long time, and they want to do right by the player in a lot of these situations. But Cooper Kupp, like we've talked about, is a second quarterback on the field at the wide receiver position. He shows up at 6 a.m. in the facility every day. Like, not only is he going to be great for any team that he goes to, like the Steelers and a lot of these wide receiver rooms, like, they're young. Like, he would just be great for the wide receiver room and the entire offense, obviously, going forward. But yeah, I mean, Cooper Kupp is he's an absolute. The game before he got hurt, he had like 20 targets and like 14 catches. Like, he's a stud when he's on the field. Yes, he is injury prone a bit the last 3 years. So is D-Hop. So is a lot of these guys. That's why they're potentially being traded. But yeah, I want Cooper Kupp bad.
Okay, so Pittsburgh Steelers were allegedly in it to the 11th hour with Brandon Ayuk. Even had a $30 million offer on the table, allegedly, for Brandon Ayuk, and that was scoffed at.
Yeah, no big deal.
Seemingly, it was on the table for a while. So the Pittsburgh Steelers were in the wide receiver market looking for a wide receiver too. With the explosion of George Pickens alongside Russell Wilson this past weekend on primetime, is that going to change how they address it? Will they try to go get this Cooper Kupp deal done, which is allegedly like a second-round pick, but Rams are willing to pay it down. Hopkins just went for a fifth. Cooper was, a third or fourth or something like that, with a fifth and a sixth option in there. Devontae was a third. So I don't know if you're going to get a second for Cooper Kupp, but I think the market has kind of set itself up for what it is. These wide receivers, seemingly, if you can handle their contract and salary cap gymnastics is certainly possible for any team. But if draft compensation hasn't been much for these guys
at all,
and it continues to baffle me, Con Man.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, and especially just because, like, the guys we're talking about, like, we're not talking about bums. Like DeAndre Hopkins, there's the stat that came out, in 2017, Hunt was the leading rusher, D-Hop was the leading receiver, the most touchdowns, and Kelsey, and now they're all on the same team. With Cooper Kupp, I want the Steelers to get him so bad because Tony's been white-knuckling for a wide receiver so damn long. But a team like the Commanders would be awesome just because they have Terry McLaurin. They were in the market for Ayuk and a couple other guys. They have the cap space. And you think about what a wide receiver like Cooper Kupp could do for a Jaden Daniels. Like, could you imagine Cliff Kingsbury, who, in that tree with McVay and them, with a Cooper Kupp, Terry McLaurin? Obviously, they got the run game going now. Like, the Washington Commanders are in it with the money. They have Jaden Daniels. They can win right now. We always talk about that rookie contract. Like, Cooper Kupp going over there would be incredible. And then you obviously have to think about, like, a team like the Ravens, where they see everybody else in the AFC making moves. Cooper goes to the Bills. They're at the top of the division. Hopkins goes to the Chiefs. They're at the top of the division, conference. Why wouldn't, the Ravens try and make a move, add somebody?
Well, that's why you talk about, like, the draft compensation. Like, all these teams who are trading for these guys have like visions of going and playing in the Super Bowl. So you talk about like, oh, they're giving a fourth round pick that could become a third round pick. Like they're thinking like, hey, we're going to be drafting in like the last 3 to 5 picks of the draft anyway. So that fourth round pick is really what, like an early fifth round pick. Like it just makes sense. We're not talking about any of these guys going for a top 10 pick or a top 15 pick. It's going to be a pick at the end of the draft anyway. And we've heard all these people talking more and more about the draft. It's like, hey, once you get past those first 15 picks, like the difference between a first round pick and a second round pick, like those lines blur big time. So why wouldn't you do it if you actually have a window right now and you feel like you can go win a Super Bowl?
Maybe he's coming to the Colts.
Well,
I didn't even think about that.
That would make sense.
Cooper Kupp coming to the Colts. That'd be a good time.
Colts and Commanders don't make sense.
Tone, you have an AP vote. You can't just say stuff that is clearly biased because you're a Steelers
Well, no,
fan.
it just because you guys already have Alec Pierce. Luke McCaffrey's already on the Commanders. It just doesn't make sense.
Okay, there isn't a white.
There's more than one
There
wide
isn't a
receiver.
cap on how many whites are allowed to have
Makes
playing
a good
wide
point.
receiver. Oh, shut up.
He makes a good point.
I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. Colts would be a good landing spot. I think there's a lot of fan bases that are thinking to themselves, can we get Cooper Kupp for a fourth round pick? Can we get Cooper Kupp for a third round pick? Just staying at a third round
Not
pick?
paying anything?
And it's like, is he going to be able to be healthy? That's certainly something you have to look into. I think he was very durable for a long time there and then potentially got unlucky. Does that mean it's going to continue to get unlucky? It was a hamstring thing, right? That he went over to Minnesota.
And a foot.
He's had
Couple real ones.
a number of throughout his career. That's kind of been his thing. Now, obviously, we all remember the Triple Crown year. Leading in the unbelievable run he had in the playoffs. And when he's healthy, he can do everything. He can block. He can run the deep routes. He can obviously run the option routes and all. And you mentioned another quarterback on the field. That's huge. For the Commanders, probably make the most sense right now. Now, after Connor laid that out, I would love him with young Jaden Daniels out there with that offense. Obviously, you got Speedy Terry Mack on the outside, but I would love him with the Commies.
Well, and also with what the Commies have been able to accomplish without him. So if he does get injured or he's not playing, it's like you're in a good spot. But if you're like the Pittsburgh Steelers, it's like, hey, our offense is potentially just getting started to be good. You can find a role here quick.
So, as you see, it would be fantastic to see Cooper Kupp, especially when it comes to him playing for a team like the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, the Pittsburgh Steelers can definitely use a player like Cooper, especially with the way they have been going so far. They have been able to get a bit of a stride over the last couple of games, which I think is fantastic, and I do believe they can continue to actually do it once again. Now, when it comes to Pittsburgh Steelers and Cooper Kupp, it isn't really said on what trade could definitely happen, but I definitely see him being a huge asset, especially when it comes to what he is capable of doing and what he has been doing for the LA Rams so far. Now, when we look at actually his stats so far this season, when it comes to Cooper Kupp, we've seen he's had 18 receptions, which actually ties him at 96, which is pretty well. Now, he's also had 147 yards, ties him at 129th position, 1 touchdown, tied him at 66th position, an average of 8.2. So it may not be insane numbers, but I do believe Cooper Kupp, what he does for this team, it's definitely not just seen in actually, this sort of realm, but it's definitely seen in the intangible things that he does bring to any team. So guys, don't forget, if you want to make football bets, don't forget to check out BetUS. It's one of my personal favorite platforms, and it's one of the fastest payouts in the industry. Now, they do have 150% bonus on your first deposit, and then 125% bonus on your next 2 deposits up to $2,000 with code YouTube150. So definitely go check out BetUS, one of my favorites to use, especially during this football season, and we got ourselves some pretty great games coming into this next week. So definitely go check out BetUS. Like I mentioned, 150% bonus on your first deposit and 125% bonus on your next 2 deposits up to $2,000 with code YouTube150. Now, when it comes to Cooper Kupp, we all know how fantastic he can be, but when it comes to what really needs to happen, I really do believe that when it comes to getting Cooper Kupp, they wouldn't have to give up too much in order to get him. Now, there are a couple of things that definitely are notable. As we all know, when it comes to the Pittsburgh's offense, they have been a little bit inconsistent throughout the 6 games, but has posted 2 consecutive 30-point outings and has started to gain momentum, especially after Russell Wilson's debut. So the rushing attack led by Najee Harris and also Jalen Warren has been efficient and highly effective over the last few weeks, and still establishing the ground game as the offensive identity. Now, though the Steelers Steelers' offense is steadily improving, the receiving corps leaves a lot to be desired outside of the George Pickens. The team lacks much production at the position and will need to be fixed, and I think this is where Cooper Kupp really does come in. Now, another quote that was mentioned was that if Les Snead wanted to deal Kupp, Pittsburgh would be a perfect partner. The Steelers have generally struggled in offense in Arthur Smith's first-year calling plays, especially through the air. Pittsburgh ranks 13th in EPA per play, primarily to a receiving corps that sits 13th in receiving grade. Not having a viable number 2 opposite George Pickens has certainly limited group ceiling. Now, Omar Khan has searched for a complementary piece to Pickens and also over the last year, but has repeatedly struck out on big names like Brandon Ayuk and Adams. Maybe Kupp will finally be the answer. Now, when it comes to this, I definitely see it being a big plus. While many are clamoring for the Steelers to acquire Kupp, there are many concerns surrounding the potential deal for the former All-Pro. Now, Kupp hasn't been able to stay healthy over the last couple of years, playing in just 23 of possible 51 games since 2022. And additionally, the former third-round pick is 31 years old and is likely nearing the end of his prime. But these are legitimate concerns about Kupp. But General Manager Omar Khan should still contemplate a trade for the veteran receiver. Kupp has posted 3 seasons with over 90 receptions and is one of the most savvy route runners in the NFL.